Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the CTO panel. My name is Suzanne Tracy. I'm the CTO in Cyro, the first full fibre open access wholesale operator in Ireland, and a joint venture between Vodafone and ESB, the state-owned electric company. Cyro has been positively disrupting telecoms in Ireland for the last 8 years. I'm delighted to be moderating the CTO panel this afternoon. Our theme is simple. It's what's on the minds of the CTOs of the FTTH operators. And Raf Massman, this morning, the FTTH president, summarised it very, very clearly. We have 3 objectives: to build out the remaining 30% of FTTH to get to 100% penetration by the time 2030, to move take-up from 35% to 100%, and to do this while reducing our carbon footprint. Our format this afternoon is that each of the panelists will make a short presentation, followed by a Q&A session that I will facilitate. We'll be covering a wide range of topics from network usage, network utilization, network competition, consolidation, customer experience, connecting our customers, cybersecurity, and sustainability. And my task this afternoon is to, 1, ensure that you all learn something from this very, very experienced panel. And the second thing is for me to make sure that you stay awake. I mean, we are on the shift straight after lunch. So let me introduce you to our very experienced and diverse panel. So first we have Jose Pedro Nascimento. So Jose Pedro is currently the CTO in Altice in Portugal. He has had a long career in telecommunications industry. He worked in several operators in Portugal: Vodafone, Jazztel, TV Cabo, Portugal Telecom, and also in Brazil he spent several years. First in OI and then as an engineering VP of Telefónica Vivo. He is also the CTO of Timwe Tech, a multinational Portuguese company. Before being bought by Altice, Portugal Telecom was the largest operator in Portugal and was instrumental in advancing telco regulation standards, leading to open access as we know it today. In the early days of Cyro, our original business case and cost of build was based on the FTTH rollout in Vodafone Portugal. While it was a challenge to match the bill cost, we benefited hugely from the experience of a mature FTTH market, specifically in the area of connecting customers to the home. Next on the panel is Trevor Linney. Trevor is a chartered engineer. He has spent his career inventing, developing, and deploying new access network technologies. Today, he is Openreach's Network Technology Director, responsible for the design and development of all Openreach's full fibre, FTTP, Ethernet, optical, and superfast platforms, connecting millions of customers in the UK. Before joining Openreach, Trevor was a director in BT Labs, leading research programs in the fundamental physics of communications, new transmission systems, novel access architecture, and robotics for deploying full fibre to the home. Trevor and I have had the pleasure of participating in this panel together in Vienna in 2022. Openreach have the largest FTTH wholesale network in the UK and partner with many of the altnets and the retail operators. Next up is Angie Hageman, Chief Construction Officer in UGG. Since 2023, Angie has served as the Chief Construction Officer for UGG, the joint venture between Allianz and Telefónica. With a solid background as an infrastructure and telecommunications expert, Angie has successfully led significant projects in her career. In previous role as executive manager, she spearheaded the independent and subsidized fibre optic expansion of Deutsche Glasfaser, connecting over 1 million households in rural areas with high-speed internet. In a male-dominated construction industry, Angie inspires women to break barriers and succeed. Her journey to achieve has positioned her as a trailblazer, showcasing resilience and leadership in a demanding professional landscape. UGG is focusing on a rural rollout, protecting the environment as priority, while bringing high-speed FTTH to customers through an open access network. Similar to Cyro, a joint venture between a global telco and Allianz, one of the largest financial service providers in the world. And finally, we have Fernando Molina Zamora, Fernando, currently the CTIO at Nexfibre, has over 30 years' experience in both fixed and mobile telecom sectors. Digital infrastructure has also been involved in the creation of successful telco startups. Fernando has worked across technology and innovation roles, with key achievements including the transformation of Grupo Massimóvil in Spain from an MVNO and niche player to a mass-market operator of its own FTTH and mobile networks, as well as leading significant fibre deployment programs at Vodafone Spain. Nexfibre, like Cyro, is wholesale only. It's the newest and youngest operator on the panel, just 1 year in operation. Investors familiar to the industry are Infravia Capital, Liberty Global and Telefonica, a mix of telco and financial services, an exclusive retail partnership with Virgin O2, aka Liberty Global, as the anchor tenant. Nexfibre has 800,000 premises passed as of the end of 2023, within 12 months, which I have to say is very impressive. So as you can see, we're in good company. We have a great mix of experienced leaders and both telco structures on the panel. Openreach, the incumbent fixed wholesale operator in the UK. Nexfibre, a UK altnet. UGG, a similar altnet in Germany. Altice, formerly Telecom Portugal, a total telecoms market leader in Portugal. While I recognise how vast the telecom industry is, I'm also reminded of how small and tight the network of leaders is. Of the 5 people on stage here today, 4 have worked in Vodafone over their career. We've also offered to help Trevor with his interview skills, if he'd like to try it. And with that, there's 2 people have had worked in Telefonica, and Telefonica, again, in addition, is a significant shareholder in UGG as a joint venture and an investor in Nexfibre. So lots and lots of crossover and lots of experience. So without further delay, I will hand you over to Jose, and I've just realized that I didn't move the slide on, even though I only had one. So I'll move it on for you, Jose. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm representing Altice Portugal. We are a total operator in Portugal. We are the largest operator in Portugal in all segments, all services. And we are owner as well of a fibre co. That we act as an operator as the brand Mel, and our fibre co, it's called Fast Fibre, and provides wholesale services to Mel and other customers. Okay, so in our mission to promote high-speed networks, we work across all segments. So we are not just providing service for the residential with the FTTH. We are in the SOHO business, it's in small and medium companies, and we're providing also the FTTH for our mobile network, because you have more than 99% of our mobile network connected with fiber, but 30%, more than 30% is FTTH. We are also engaged in a very strong program to phase out the copper network, and it means that we are migrating aggressively our customers from copper to FTTH. So the numbers speak by themselves. We are in the top 3, the top 3 company in Europe, operating in Europe regarding FTTH development. We have more than 6.4 million homes passed. That represented more than 90% of the homes in Portugal. And regarding the mobile network, we have a full coverage in terms of 4G and 5G. We began the operation in the beginning of 2022, and we covered more than 95% of the population currently. So, and to do all this, we need to drive innovation. And here I have this, this is threefold, okay? So we have innovation in technology, innovation in collaboration, and innovation in our commercial offers. So regarding technology, we have a company which is called Altice Labs. It's former PT Inovação from the old times of Portugal Telecom. And they are driving strong programs of research and development for the optical network. So we have the OLTs, the next generation OLTs. We are developing, installing, and implementing in several countries, and in Portugal as well, and the fiber gateways and the Wi-Fi extenders as well. So this means they have several patents, and they collaborate in research and development with a lot of universities in Portugal. This means that all the patents that were registered during the last years contributed a lot for this innovation portfolio that we have got, and also in the commercial offers, because we were the first operator in Portugal to launch an offer for XGS-PON. So we are having both offers together, GPON and SGS-PON, and for the enterprise, we launched the very innovative offer as well. It means it's the unique fiber, or it's called unique fiber. You can provide over FTTH in a single fiber the full set of services, which for the Portuguese market was innovative. And the challenges. Now, let me just say a few words about the challenges. This is one of the main challenges, technological challenges, is automation. And my mantra is that we need to simplify everything, simplify, simplify, simplify. So we are being through an intensive IT transformation program that will change the way that we are working in the organization. And this program affects everything in the network, all the processes in the company. And this will contribute for the simplification of the processes and for the automation that we need. We have several automation programs at the same time, running at the same time, because we need this for network efficiency and for our work efficiency as well. And the ecosystems, we need to have the right partners, and we need to work with several PON generations at the same time. So we have to control our ecosystems. And the services, there will be a lot of new use cases that you need to control and to rule, to master, and to provide to our customers and to monetize them. And at last but not least, the regulation environment. We need a regulation environment that is stable and that allows us to predict our investments and to go in the right direction without being always zigzagging in our path. And that's it. That's my conclusion. I hand over now to Trevor. I think you can go. The floor is yours. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So to say, I'm Trevor Liddy, so I'm Openreach's Technology Director. For those of you who aren't familiar with Openreach, we are the legally separate access division in the UK, and we're currently building full fibre. From a standing start 6 years ago, we are already beyond halfway to our 25 million homes passed target, and we'll continue building beyond 25 to 30 million premises across the UK. In terms of the FTTP, we also offer Ethernet services on point-to-point services. And things which are foremost of mind for me as we build out that architecture is how do we build the most scalable head-end architectures that we can that meet the speed and capacity demands of our customers and our CPs moving forwards in the most energy efficient way as possible. And indeed, how do we innovate around those platforms and keeping them secure? I think one of the big things that faces all of us as operators, as people have realized how critical our access and our network infrastructure is. And we all see increasing requirements in terms of how do we increase and make more robust and secure the platforms that we're building. And so I think as we look forward is that sort of trinity of meeting customer demands and capacity, doing it in the most energy and sustainable way, and ensuring that we secure the critical national infrastructure that we're all building. And with that, I look forward to your questions as we move forwards and hand over.
Yeah, handing over to me. My name is Angie. I'm the Chief Construction Officer of UGG. As Suzanne said earlier, we are invested, and you can see that also we prepared that as an overview, by Telefonica and Allianz, investing in total 5 billion euro in the rollout of fiber in Germany. We are a company founded in a very critical phase in the worldwide market because there was in the pandemic situation of COVID when we started building out fiber in the market. And there's one lady sitting who was attacking Deutsche Glasfaser, and she started building out in the area of the Mosel, and no one expected UGG to build out. So thanks, you did that. She's smiling over there, and there was also a lady starting that business. Now I joined UGG last year, as also Suzanne said earlier, and we are now a company of over 300 people already, which is big, but not big. So there are much more advanced companies having more people on the ground, but we stick to a plan that we want to not overachieve the FTE targets, because at the end, what should you do with many people? You need to have the right people in place that you deliver the right ambitions. And our ambition is that we want to deliver 2.2 million households fiberized. I myself rolled out already with my teams and partners in the market 1 million, and you all know the first million in life is the hardest. So first million is done. Now we do 2 millions, and then let's see what comes afterwards, because we will not be done in the German market with those millions of the rollouts that are currently ongoing. And as you know, we are in Germany one of the flop companies in the OECD comparison. So that means we have still a lot to do here in the market to roll out fiber, and we really need to focus all our energies to make sure that we can roll out the fiber to the consumers, to the municipalities, to the businesses waiting in the rural and suburban areas, that they can be a part and on top on the modern infrastructure, globalized society. Currently, we have 1.2 million HPs and MOUs. That means the trust of municipalities who want to roll out networks by us. And we currently roll out in 380 municipalities with over 725,000 HPs where we are already constructing. So that is basically where we are at the moment. And there's one major topic that we will also discuss here in the panel later on, I think, and there might be questions of you as well. This is the topic of open access. Because for us, open access is our priority to have competition on the networks, not for the networks. And you can see we have already some customers trusting in us, giving the opportunities to the people in those municipalities that they can be connected via the network that we are rolling out. And at the end, we only need one fiber network per municipality. And I think this is a basic discussion that needs to be solved here in the German market. Handing over now.
Thank you, Angie. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fernando Molina. I work for Nexfibre. And for those of you who don't know Nexfibre, that is probably most of you, Nexfibre is a new company, UK, FibreCo, that is wholesale-only company. It has world-class investors that believe in the UK market, like Infravia Capital Partner, Telefonica, Liberty Global, who decided to invest there to build 5 million homes complementary to the build that already exists, the network that already exists from VMO2, so that we could create a truly national scale competitor to the Openreach network, providing an alternative to the ISPs in UK to have a national network that could provide a high-quality, high-speed alternative when looking for a solution to provide service to their customers. We decided to build from the beginning XGS-PON. We thought it was the right decision to provide really the best quality that is providing a way forward that is not going to require significant investment changes in the next years. We are a wholesale-only provider. We have a relationship with VMO2 with the one they are our first anchor tenant, and we have a partnership so that they help us build that network. But we are open to any other ISP interested in using a high-quality, fast network. And we are deploying our network in a mix of suburban, semi-rural areas so that we are already providing service, as Susan mentioned before, to more than 800,000 homes in the first year. And of course, it's ramping up, and we're still scaling up the build speed. We have a secured investment to do that of £4.5 billion. And we really believe that we have the capability to be a true, valuable, and better competitor for Openreach in the UK market. Now, we are here to talk also about innovation. And normally when we talk about innovation, I'm coming from technology areas mostly, engineers. We tend to think, OK, what's the next technology, higher speed? Well, the market is changing in the sense that historically operators were integrated. So they had like the ServCo, the ISP part, and the NetCo part serving the customer. And that's changing. I mean, now you tend to find more and more settings in the ones you have a FibreCo or a company that is providing a NetCo, company that is providing the network capability, an ISP that is the company selling the service to customers and providing the sales and the customer service, and then you have the end customer. And I would say that there the focus for success is, of course, and I think that we've heard that today in some of the previous panels, is scale and reach. I mean, you cannot be a wholesaler when you have a very small amount of homes, and I think that we have that capability by our footprint combined even with the VMO2 footprint that is going to bring us to more than 21 million homes in the UK market. And then, of course, you need another part that has been mentioned, that is the reliability and the quality and the flexibility. And there, yeah, it's your work as a company managing a network to provide a high-quality, reliable network. But then, not only that, it's how do you provide the capability to the ISP to understand what is the quality of the service they are providing. And normally you say, well, yeah, I have APIs, they can ask. There is kind of some proactive communication, yeah. But we honestly think that's not enough. So we need to find a different way to provide some innovation that allows ISPs to really provide a better service to their customers through the service that is provided by the FibreCo. And this is where we think that really there is a need to provide or use new technologies to do that. So when you think on this ecosystem now, then you have the FibreCo providing network, APIs, most cases some field service, installations, maintenance to customers. Then you have the ISPs providing the sales, the customer service, the router, the billing. So these activities that are the front face for the end customer. And then you have the end customer. And basically, the end customer is using the service, wants to use different types of services, doesn't want to have any problem with that. And if it's got any problem, it's going to contact the ISP. And the ISP is going to be willing to understand what's going on in the part that they are not controlling. And this is where we really think that there is a need also for providing not just the best quality service that we're willing to provide, and reliable, and with scale, but also provide ISPs with the tools and the flexibility so that they can do that management. And that's part of the innovation. And that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Fernando, Angie, Trevor, and Jose. So we're now moving on to the Q&A. So hopefully this will help get everyone's attention and get the energy level going. So I have some prepared questions here that we'll go through, but also we want to include the audience. And we were to have a fifth panelist, so we have time, we have space. If anyone actually wants to join us, that's also very welcome. But I think we just get started. So we've talked about the difficulty trying to finish out that last 30% of the network build across Europe. So clearly we have some markets that are very advanced and some markets that are really kind of starting that journey. So the average, they're all helping with the average, and we're saying that Europe is 70% fibre and to get to 100% by the end of 2030. Equally, we have different levels of take-up, but again, the stronger markets are helping the weaker markets, and we have an average of 35%. So knowing all of that, and as we all live it every day, the FTTH evolution. So I think my first question really is about how are you driving customers to XGS-PON? Have you secured any early adopters? What is in it for them, and are they incentivized? And what do you see as the next evolution of PON rollout? Is it 25 GPON or straight to 50 GPON? And that question, I think we'll start with Fernando, because I think you probably give us a good view.
Yeah, so, well, as I've explained, we are deploying from the beginning XGS-PON, and we're lucky not to have a partnership with VMO2 that was willing really to bring higher speeds to the portfolio. And we have already launched recently a 2 gigabit speed tier that is available now for customers in our coverage area. And we think that the question of bringing XGS-PON is not just a question of what is the maximum speed that an individual customer is going to request. But in the end, the fiber networks, the way they are deployed, you are sharing the same PON port with a number of homes, and you have, therefore, a number of users that are going to use a concurrent capacity that is going to be available there. And I think the experience that we all have, especially those who have been many years in the market, is that when we see what's been the evolution of the speeds and the data consumption in the different places, something that is constant is the consumption is higher. You want to guarantee high quality, high speed for the services that exist and the ones that are coming for customers. There is a need to have a network that is prepared to provide those high quality services, higher speeds that will allow customers to grow and not to have quality issues as their needs evolve. And so what we find with VMO2 and we're engaging with other ISPs talking about is that what we're offering them is a platform with the one they can connect their customers through these XGS-PON ONTs, knowing that they're going to be capable of providing the services their customers will need in the coming years, without the impression that, yeah, I'm buying into something that it's time-bounded, that is going to have issues for scaling in the short term. And related then to the 25 GPON or other technologies, yeah, I mean, you need to look at that and you need to test it, and we're testing and trialing some 25 GPON. For the consumer market, clearly it's not something that is going to be an immediate need, or that the market is prepared to accept that. If you look even at the customer equipment, before we were talking about this energy consumption, efficiency of things, well, probably it's not the most efficient proposition right now for the mass market. So something to look at and something to be prepared for, but nothing that looks like immediate.
Okay, but like you have future-proofed your network as in you're starting your build at XGS-PON. Are you seeing your customers taking higher speeds, or are they hovering around the 1 gig?
No, they are clearly bringing, interestingly enough, they're bringing or they're requesting higher speeds than what we initially forecasted. And what we see is that with the time, they keep on asking for higher speeds. And the thing is that in the experience I got, when you let them try a higher speed, and this is
all
the
good
question,
news.
can you let them try? When you let them try a higher speed, and you tell them, well, now you can come back to the other one, that is really what you said at the beginning that you wanted. Most of them, and I can tell you that by experience, most of them will tell you, actually, I'm okay with that.
I'll stay where I am. Very good. Trevor, same question.
Yeah, so the OpenReach network today is GPON. And we've come at this, we're sort of approaching this in a sort of staged approach. So first of all, we believe that GPON has got an awful lot of life left in it. We've built with a 32-way split, so we haven't got immediate capacity challenges. So the first thing we have done is we've actually embraced the 2.5 gig port ONTs that are coming through for GPON. So we're imminently launching 1.2 and 1.8 gigabit products on GPON in order to meet that sort of 1 gigabit technology. And we have moved to a mode what we refer to as of XGS seeding. So all the OLT ports that we're building now are combo-capable equipment from Adtran and Nokia, which we install the GPON SFP in day one, but should, as and when we have the need to upgrade, we can then go and revisit, change the optic, and activate XGS. So we're future-proofing all our future build in that respect. In terms of 25 gig and 50 gig, I agree it's not going to be needed anytime soon, and I do counsel the industry not to get distracted, because we always try to chase this. Okay, we need to future-proof, so we need to have the next version of the technology included, and that's great as long as it doesn't come with a cost or actually, I think more sensibly, an energy premium. So actually, when it sort of says, when people ask, well, OpenReach, what do you want from your next generation OLT technology, 25 or 50? I pretty much say for residential, neither. What I'd like is for XGS to be more energy efficient, because I think combo technology is brilliant, but at the moment it comes with an energy increase, to run both those ports. What I'd far rather is we take the next generation of iteration of the hardware and actually say, well, actually we can have GPON and XGS coexistence, and we can save energy. And I'd far rather that we used effectively the Moore's law benefit to give us an energy saving rather than chasing a higher and higher residential bandwidth, which is possibly beyond the equipment life cycle refresh that you'd see, because we might not need it until the 2030s. So I think actually the next generation of PON technology is more energy efficient XGS combo rather than those higher speed tiers for residential. Obviously for enterprise, then you'll see a different choice, and that might be that that we see that as a point-to-point evolution rather than a PON one. But obviously it's very much a market-specific driver.
Very good. Well, I think we would all welcome a more energy efficient. It'll help us with our third objective, which is reducing our carbon footprint. But equally, as we look at the network utilization and the OTT battle, which is the next question, there's still a debate around the quality of the network, the pace, the consumption, etc. So the next question is for Jose. So Netflix eats up 15% of global downstream traffic. Just 6 companies accounting for 56% of all EU internet traffic, with the cost of 40 billion annually to the telco. Shouldn't the larger traffic generators fairly contribute to the cost of delivering their traffic to the end customer? And is the EU Commission doing enough to prioritise, define and implement a workable, fair solution?
Okay, the answer is yes, and more or less. Yes, we think they should contribute. And the EU Commission is more or less doing. But let me tell you, these largest contributors, they take the big benefits of the telco networks, and the telco have a cost burden to provide this data, because the paradigm changed a lot for the consumer. Because in the past, some 1 decade or 2 decades ago, you'll pay for consumption. You'll get more data, you'll pay more. Now you'll get whatever, all you can eat, you pay a flat fee, and then, so how do you monetize this, okay? When you have those largest traffic injectors in the network. So we think it's fair that is some contribution from their side, because they take the most benefit of all this. And there's, I think, they introduce this proportional power across markets with this kind of huge traffic increase. And the traffic is increasing, and we have some studies from the European Commission that says that until 2030, the investment cost for the telcos to handle all this traffic will be around 175 billion euros, which is something that at the current with the current telco business is unbearable. So our CEO was one of the signatories of the open letter called Fair Share, a call for the fair share legislation, and where we ask the European Commission to intervene in this negotiation. So we believe that could be reasonable negotiations between the telcos and these higher traffic injectors, so that the cost can be shared, or there will be some balance, because otherwise, the telcos will be suffocated, and that will be bad for everybody. So we think that there's some way to go in these negotiations, and it's possible. I think it's possible. This will be good for the industry, and both for the telcos and for this. Of course, it would apply only to these, 5, 6 big, not for the regular ones, though. But this is our opinion in terms of our opinion, Altice Portugal opinion.
Okay, thank you, Jose. And Trevor, do you see it happening? Can you see a cap or a charge?
I'd say in many ways, I think it's more the purview of the ISPs. So as a wholesale access provider, we effectively build our access pipes uncontended. So we designed it to be non-blocking. So the communication providers, effectively, that bandwidth is available for the customers to use. Now, of course, we only provide the fibre connectivity from the home to that first handover point, and then it's our customers that then have to do the backhaul and the peering and all those other things. So it's far more in the view of the retail service providers rather than the access providers. And as it stands today, we look at our GPON utilization, and yes, video is probably one of the biggest drivers of our network, but it's probably only driving an average bit rate of tens of megabits, nowhere near the capacity of the PONs that we've deployed.
Yeah, but I would also say if it is successful, as wholesalers, we should also benefit ultimately. There should be a kickback. A rising tide lifts all boats. Ultimately, the revenue will change. The revenue model will change, I would imagine, and pricing, and that will have to help for future investment all around. But it's a watching brief. We wait and see. So next question is around network competition. So Angie, on the topic of network competition, do you believe is it suffocate the competition at all costs? Our experience in Ireland is that the regulator is very supportive. So we've just come through a market review where investment was safeguarded, stopping unfettered discounting. Can the regulator play a bigger part, particularly for you in Germany?
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, the German market, the open access discussion is quite heavily at the moment, and it's quite heavily because of the discussion that only one network at the end is economically and also ecologically efficient and sufficient in a municipality. So at the end, you don't need 2, 3, or 5 networks in a municipality because the pavement is only that big that you put maybe one network in it. What we experience in the market is that we have an over-announcing, overselling, and partially overbuilding discussion ongoing. That is mainly driven by the incumbent here in the market, where they tend to build out only the major parts of the municipality, which is then the center of the municipality, which will hinder the further growth of fiber rollout in the suburban areas, where also the people need to have fiber, that they can be connected to the modern world, as I said earlier. And you ask if the regulator can support on that one. I think, first of all, the market organization needs to make sure that we all understand that open access is key. Because if we all tend to and use open access, then this one is solved and we don't need regulation on that one. So that is the first step on this one. by doing open access, we also have support on refinancing the networks, which is also a major discussion that all of us probably have. And that offers also new business opportunities to the one using the networks, because they might have new customers which they would not reach if they would not go to open access. And at the end, the consumer is the one having the profit of having the competition on the network, because that will have an effect on prices, on also development on the network, and all those topics. On top of this, if we talk about the government and the regulation, I think there should be a backing of the investors, because at the end, the investors are putting money on the table to roll out networks in the markets. And at the moment in Germany, we are jeopardizing an investment of roughly 50 billion euro. We don't know, because that is just a rough calculation of all the investments that the fiber companies are putting in the market, and that is jeopardized in the moment when we talk about overbuilding. And there should be a heavy push on using BSA as a product to really go for the open access.
Very good. Fernando, would you see the same in the UK, or slightly different?
I mean, the market is not exactly the same, so there we're not having this issue of just having one network in each of the places. And so what we think we really need is a regulation that does basically three things. One is make sure that there is the possibility to create a truly competitive wholesale market, and that means that there needs to be a regulation on what are the tariffs or the discounts that can be applied short-term by Openreach as incumbent, so that there is really a possibility to create an alternative wholesale market that mid to long-term provides an improvement in the economic conditions and in the competition and in the service levels to all ISPs. There is a second part that is to provide a stable regulatory environment in terms of making sure that you protect the investment, so that the conditions in the ones you are investing are maintained, so that there are no significant changes in cost or in access to different infrastructures for those companies doing the investment to create those alternative networks. And then there is a third part that is, in order for this to be long-term sustainable competition field, it's true that you cannot have 5, 6 networks in the same area. So there needs to be a regulation that allows you to have some consolidation game that brings the number into a sensible number, but allowing the players that are making the investments to consolidate into a number that is really a reasonable number that provides competition, but on a volume that really is sustainable in the market. There is now a process that is being initiated in the UK market that needs to end by 2026. That is this fixed review market, where all these things are being analyzed, and I think it's important all these topics are taken into account for that.
Okay. And on network consolidation, it's very closely linked to network competition. Angie, is there anything else that you've experienced in Germany that's driving a kind of a network consolidation strategy?
Yeah, I think if we talk about network consolidation, there's also a discussion on the copper switch off that is very important, because at the end we always talk about the rollout of fiber and the importance of fiber in the market. But if we talk about increasing fiber, then in Germany it's directly linked also to copper, because we have a huge volume of copper networks, and as I said earlier, we are flop 3 in the OECD comparison. So like, if we would assume that there might be a deadline when the copper should be switched off, then there would be the increase and the heavy push on fiber as well, and then it comes to consolidation as well. So I think all of those discussions are linked together here in that case.
Okay, and then just finally to Jose, I mean, you spoke about your own copper switch-off plans, but equally on network consolidation, Portugal is very advanced. Did you?
Yes. Yes, we're doing the copper switch-off. Our goal is by 2030. Okay, we are aggressively migrating. There's some white zones yet, and so for those white zones, there'll be some kind of government support to do those white zones, very rural zones, and so on. We have some overbuilt yet in Portugal. I think it doesn't make sense for a newcomer to start overbuilding, both economically, for sustainability, for disruption of the environment and the ecosystems on the cities. And we're trying to, we are an example of, because Altice, former PT, we had a lot of ducts and poles, and we are, renting all ducts and poles for other competitors. They'll come, they will do that. And the open networks is something that we must look forward. So even if you have to adapt our networks a little bit for other competitors. So there is no regulation so far, no regulation in Portugal, unless, well, there will be some regulation for some far, villages. But the main of the FTTH, there's no regulation. So that allowed the country to have a sustainable build of fiber without, overbuild everywhere and competition. So the fact of having no regulation is good, but we have regulation for the usage of ducts and poles, and we are sharing that with the other operators. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, Angie, moving on to protecting the investment. So you mentioned earlier that you made your first million, or you have your first million chalked on the board, which is great. We're still striving towards that in Cyro. But on protecting your investment and the homes that you have passed, how are you driving demand for FTTH services and encouraging take-up? And then, as a wholesaler, for the wholesale-only panelists, how do you incentivize retailers to choose your network? And then we'll go to Trevor then, just specifically around OpenReach, but we'll start with you, Angie.
I think it's quite easy, because at the end, a network is interesting in the moment when it's available. So that means scaling the network is key to drive the success here.
So the more you build, yeah.
The more interesting you are.
Yeah. But again, you need volume. I mean, in Ireland, we just don't have the numbers. But we still have to drive the same usage and same penetration. And then I suppose that's really, you're saying the volume, the scale is what drives retailers towards you. Yeah. Okay, and then for the second part of the question, Trevor, for OpenReach, how are you reassuring your retailers, or your retail-only operators, that there is a level playing pitch when it comes to managing orders that could mean customers are migrating from BT retail to another retailer on the OpenReach network?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, OpenReach is built on an equivalence basis. So every one of our customers is treated in exactly the same way. So we treat the downstream communication provided from BT on exactly the same terms. We have industry-agreed pricing and deals, all of which the regulator examines to ensure that they are fair. So it's ingrained in the culture that we effectively serve everybody on an equivalent basis. And they all use exactly the same business interfaces and et cetera like that. So it's fundamentally ingrained, and we treat our CPs identically. And in fact, we actually see some interesting dynamics where, because the way we interact with industry, anyone can come to us effectively with a request, confidentiality, in confidence. So we actually had Sky as a CP saying, well, actually, we'd quite like our engineers to do the work of installing the customer the ONT, okay. And so that was actually done, effectively developed for Sky through open processes, and so Sky used their engineers to finish off the home, and BT doesn't.
Yeah, so it's a further hybrid. It's a further iteration of.
Indeed. So we want to make our customers successful in each of them, and we treat them in equivalent basis.
Okay, and not just to single you out, Trevor, because obviously there's more than one wholesaler on the panel here with multiple investors. So obviously there's all kinds of different interests. So I presume the same holds for Nexfibre.
Yeah.
Same level of governance and Chinese walls as such.
Absolutely. So as I said before, we're a wholesale-only company, and we have a cooperation agreement with VMO2 in the one they provide some services to us, and they are our initial anchor ISP, our first customer, but it's a differentiated role. So they're a customer, and we're really proud and happy to have them as a customer, and we are happy and thankful for them for the services that they have provided us to let us build at the speed we've done. But it's two different roles, and for the service we would provide to the ISPs, it's an absolutely neutral, independent, and InfraVia Capital is one of our shareholders. They have 50% of the ownership, so they wouldn't be very happy if we favor one ISP compared to the others, and that wouldn't help the business. So what we're building is capabilities that help us attract other ISPs by the service we can provide, by the capabilities, the quality of what we're doing.
And as we see more and more network consolidation, obviously we're going to see more and more shared ownership and crossover ultimately in that. Very good, thank you. So moving on to investor perspective, Angie. Telefonica, as we said, is a joint venture with Allianz in UGG, and equally Telefonica is an investor in Nexfibre. But from your perspective, Angie, what influence do they have on your build and rollout strategy?
At the end, we are an independent company operating in the German market, we have, of course, the full support of Telefonica, but also of Allianz with the knowledge and the power they have from worldwide investments. And I think this is the major advantage of having knowledgeable investors who know from the market of other countries how you can scale up, how you're rolling out, and that you can put the expertise also in the local market, because at the end, every market has differences. For example, we can't use poles or we can't use ducts that are deployed already in the ground, because we need to dig everything by ourselves here in the German market. But still, we can put all the experience and the knowledge sharing together, which is very helpful for us to have the profit of that and the value of that huge network of experts in the Telefonica world, but also from Allianz, who are supporting on that one.
So if I understand correctly, there's no network sharing, there's no infrastructure sharing.
No, I said another thing, we don't use the ducts and the poles. So in other countries, you have empty ducts that you can use for the fiber rollout, or you have poles already installed. But in Germany, we simply dug everything completely new. Here are no ducts that can be used in the full grid of the market, but of course there are sometimes empty ducts that you can use, but not across the full country. That depends, and is highly fragmented in the market.
Yes, so quite different to my experience, where we're actually reusing an existing infrastructure. All right, so we move on. I'm sorry, do you want to comment?
I wanted to say we have a similar situation with Telefonica, Liberty Global. Both of them highly experienced. We're an independent company, so we set our own strategy. But in terms of getting this expert advice on what's happening in other markets, what has already been tested, we were before joking a bit, saying, well, if there is a very difficult question from you, we might say, can you please come back and answer that? So what I mean with that is, you can always ask for the support in the difficult areas where you might need some very expert advice on something that you really need to understand fast and get some experience of something that has already been done. So you are not reinventing from the scratch something, and you can do this thing, not here in the panel, but you can do this thing. Can you please help us in this?
Very good. Okay, we've got a few more topics to cover, customer experience being next on the list. But before I do that, I just want to go to the audience and see if there's any questions from what we've discovered already. Very good. We have a question here.
Hello, my name is Susana Calvo, and I have a question for Fernando. You said that in the UK you have a high demand of XG-PON services for end customers. I would like to know, out of the 50% fiber penetration in the UK, what is the demand for? Because my experience, the German market is a bit difficult to sell those services.
No, let me be clear. What I was saying is, we think that we have a technology that we're deploying, XGS-PON, that initially what we're seeing is demand of higher speeds than probably was initially anticipated. And what we think is that by providing XGS-PON capability from the very beginning, what we're allowing is a growth in speeds that is going to happen. And having to update the infrastructure, not in the network, because here we're talking about having dual port PON, blah, fine. That's, fine, you need to have the capability to do that, but that's not the difficult part. The difficult part is whenever the customer comes and asks you to do that, to have the capability to use that 2 gigabit symmetric capability, or several customers willing to really use the 1 gigabit symmetric capability, what you have to do is not just to upgrade the network part. You have to upgrade also the customer part. And this is where you have more difficulties when you need to think on what you're offering to the customers as of today. So do you want to have to go to your customer premise in 2-3 years to upgrade the customer equipment? Because this is the issue that many companies that bet for different technologies are facing when now they are having this competition of XGS-PON networks, or in some cases GPON networks. How do we upgrade the customer infrastructure? Network infrastructure is an issue, but the customer infrastructure is a different issue. And what we're saying is, with what we're providing, we are providing the capability for ISPs to scale and grow with what they have from the very beginning. And that's going to happen, and it's going to be required.
Okay, thank you. We'd love to have that problem in Germany.
It will happen. It will happen.
Any other questions from the audience at this moment? Yes, we have one on this side.
So just to pick up on that earlier point just made, so if a customer is on GPON, has the ONT installed, I mean, how easy do you see it to do a self-installation to then upgrade that to XGS-PON? Because it feels like that's quite important, and some operators are talking about that. Do you think that's feasible? What are the challenges involved?
I think it's a very interesting question that everyone tries to grapple with. And I think the few things that you have to consider around that is one around sort of just how has it been installed in the first place, in terms of is there an easy way of doing it? Secondly, in terms of if you did do it, likelihood that the customer would handle the fibre in an appropriate way and cause a fault. What's the balance of that? And indeed, I think when you look end to end, is the ONT and delivery of the gig to the home is one thing. Being able to, for the retail service provider to be able to distribute that speed around the home is actually far more complex. Because if you think about, even if we delivered a 1.5 gig service on GPON or faster on the others, you're then saying, have I got a home gateway that's capable? Have I got a Wi-Fi infrastructure that's capable? And indeed, have you got structured cabling around the home? So I think actually, we're going to touch on it a bit later, that overall customer experience of actually how do you deliver multi-gigabit services within the home is actually far more complex than can you get it into the device. So I think that's one question, and then the other one you think is it one box versus two box? So the UK today is a two box solution. We have a very simple ONT, and then you cable across into a home gateway. That's now with the greater than 1 gig products, that's driving our CPs to build 2.5 gig WAN devices, which is a next step up in sort of cost and complexity. So then you face into, is it one box, two box? And again, that tends to be a very, very market-specific debate, and whether you've got wholesale and or vertically integrated operators will probably pick different things based on their own challenges. But I think it's a very interesting question.
Well, we'll stay with that, Trevor, and just go straight into the customer experience. So what are your views on where customer experience is going, and what are the expectations in relation to a full fibre network performance, Wi-Fi, etc.? Are we meeting it or falling short, specifically in relation to residential consumer customers?
So I'll start on that one, because this has been one of the big questions as a wholesaler. We're only, you can think of your networks as in, you've got the retail service provider who's bringing, the content and the peering and the backhaul to, in our network, around 1,000 nodes in the UK. It then hand over to Openreach. They get to choose how many customers they put in their cable link, which is the product connecting from our network to theirs. You've then got the FTTP network to the ONT, and then you get to the in-home environment. And typically, a customer's perception of the speed of the network is, when I run a speed test on my device of unknown age or capability, what speed does it say? So we might be saying you've bought a 1 gig service, but if they happen to have an old mobile phone without MIMO in it, they're probably topped out at 300 megs, and they go, I've bought 1 gig and it's only saying 300 megs, so your network is at fault. So the way that we have addressed that is to create effectively a speed test for our network. So we actually, our communication providers can request a speed test which runs from our head end through the network and then loops back at the customer's premise. So we can say that for the head end infrastructure, for the PON and into the home, we are delivering the speed that we promised. So if we sold a 1 gig service, they get a speed test result that says this, our layer 2 network is delivering 900 and something odd megabits per second, and we do that via effectively a smart SFP endpoint. And that means we can say to the CPs, our network is absolutely fine.
All the way into the home.
All the way into the home, and then say, so that we can properly demark between the wholesaler, effectively the in-home environment, which it could be, or effectively their backhaul network. And I think our experience of when customers think their full fibre is at fault, it's typically a Wi-Fi challenge that's within our CPs and not within, and not within
no
our
fault
infrastructure.
found.
Yeah, indeed.
Fernando, you mentioned it in your presentation about getting more, like, I think how I understood it is that as a wholesaler you will support the ISP more in managing the customer, but ultimately your network has an endpoint.
This is it. So you have, as Trevor has explained, there is a demarcation, and it's true. I mean, you need to make sure that there is a high-speed, high-quality network there, that you have an ONT, an OLT, and all the backing transmission, all network that is available, that is performing appropriately. But then, what are the tools you are providing the ISP so that it's not only working well, but you're providing the ISP the tool to understand at any time what's happening with each customer, what the quality of the service you are providing, with how the network is working. And so how do you make it easy for the ISP to provide the best possible service to the customer and understand what is the quality of the service that they are providing to each individual customer. We normally talk about the SLAs, and average is great. Now, what you need to understand is what is the specific experience that each customer is having at any point in time. And that's something that is relevant in terms of how do you think about your role as a wholesale service provider, and how can you support ISPs to provide a better service.
And that's your intention, to be able to do that?
Absolutely, to do something that helps and facilitates ISPs to be able to provide a better service.
Very good. Jose, moving on to enterprise customers, small to medium-sized enterprise. Given that FTTH is primarily delivered to support residential, how are you providing differentiated business services on the same infrastructure, targeting the enterprise small to medium-sized customers?
Well, we, from the beginning, we did actually provide services for the small and medium business with FTTH. There are some really small businesses where we provide actually the same service that for the residential, but in the TV offer, for instance, we charge more because like restaurants and stuff, we charge more for the TV because there will be a wider set of people watching TV in the restaurant, for instance. And then from the medium business, we offer on top, on the same infrastructure, on the same FTTS, on the same GPON, we offer, for instance, corporate voice functionalities, completely different from the residential. We provide higher speed for internet, and we use it also for our mobile network for the backhauling, because it's much cheaper to backhaul our base stations with the GPON than with the point-to-point. At a certain level of the size of the enterprise, of the companies, we'll go for the point-to-point because there's no way to do it with GPON. But yes, we have a large set of companies that are using FTTH at that level.
Very good. And Trevor, any difference in that for OpenReach?
So OpenReach build FTTP to business parks and things with small areas, but we, so they can be available, but we don't differentiate. I mean, where we see where for businesses, we tend to use point-to-point, and I think this is where you differentiate between it. It's not just the underlying technology, it's also about the SLAs in terms of repair. It's when, and that level of service that gets differentiated. So we have point-to-point with a certain set of business and enterprise ones. Where we are actually looking forward is leveraging one of the things we've built for FTTP. We've built effectively a leaf-spine leaf architecture for that. And actually what we're looking at is how do we leverage not GPON, but how do we leverage common sort of CO infrastructure in terms of the architecture to deliver Ethernet type services more cost effectively, while still giving that differentiation between dedicated fibre with dedicated bandwidth for business, as opposed to the shared ones that you get on the residential ponds.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Sorry, I'll just go back to the audience again, because we actually moved from the audience back to the panel without actually checking to see if there was any further questions or any more questions on what we've discussed so far. No, okay, so we'll keep moving. So, Angie, from a technology perspective, what do you see as the most exciting technologies, either available or coming on stream, which will disrupt or transform the technology stack of FTTH or telecoms companies?
We are already smiling at each other because from a technology perspective, we are actually all not very sure if we need to develop technology in terms of the network further, or if we do not talk about the next steps on what are the use cases that can be done on the technology. Like, for example, if we talk about AI use cases, and that will be also the driver of the success in many other industries, where we put like the base layer, but then on top of that base level of that technology of fiber, there will be further use case that can enhance also on that technology. And based on that one, we talk again about speed, latency, and stuff like this. But this is like just the base layer we are discussing here.
Okay, and Fernando, anything else?
Yeah, we were commenting before also that speeds and latencies are one part of that, and there is a lot of effort in the industry traditionally in building that. I think it's important that it's time to start working in being able to open all the information that is inside all that technology, so that you can process and understand much better the customer experience you're driving through that in much more detail. And these AI analytic capabilities exist today. You could use that high speed, big volumes of data. Can we put some time in innovating in how do we open all of that so that we can deliver a much better information understanding of the service that we as operators are providing to customers?
So make better use of what's there, really.
Absolutely, of all the information that is there.
Okay, so we have one final topic before we wrap up. I just think it's too important not to raise, and that's around cybersecurity. So the first question for Jose: if cybercrime was a country, it would be the third largest economy in the world after the US and China, according to the World Economic Forum. Generative AI, we've just mentioned, is emerging as a tool to level the playing field, so offering sophisticated capability for both the cyber attackers and the defenders. How worried are you about protecting your organization?
Well, very, very worried. Well, fortunately, we hadn't got any attack that's collapsed, that made some collapse in our network and services. But we are actively protecting our services and our infrastructure every day. So we have a dedicated team just for cybersecurity, have a dedicated security center. And we are investing the best we can in the best technologies and tools to protect ourselves. I remember 2 years ago in Portugal, there was with the Vodafone, I don't know if you remember, they had a severe attack. Yeah. And they were like more than 3 days without any service, and there was a really nightmare. But during those times, there was, solidarity. We helped them with a lot. Everybody helped them trying to recover their service and providing redundancy and stuff. But it's really something that worries everyone in the company. And we have dedicated, untouchable, dedicated budget to cybersecurity. And we're trying to get the best resources, which is not easy now, because people those people very specialized in cybersecurity are scarce in the market, and it's hard to keep them. But you're trying to get the best ones, the best tools, and a very dedicated management focus on cybersecurity, because we can just facilitate in those terms.
Very good, thank you. Okay, well we've concluded our Q&A, so thank you very much. And I think we'll just wrap up now with a very quick summary, a minute each for each panelist, just to share your key takeaways from the discussion. So we start with Fernando.
We think that it's fundamental in any market we find a way to really create a truly competitive market, and we think and we believe that for an operator to be successful in such market needs to really be very much prioritizing the quality, the customer experience, the service you're providing, the reliability, the scale. But there needs to be a playing field that allows competitors or challengers to develop those capabilities and develop that experience, that network that can really be challenging and providing a wider choice for ISPs and challenging incumbents in those markets.
Very good. So it's all about customer experience.
Customer experience.
Angie.
Adding to what you said, from my perspective, scaling is key in that market, and we can scale if we have the right people, the right partner, and the right processes in place to make sure that we can really deliver those scaling that is linked, what you said, to quality and speed. And this is at the end the base that we can offer open access.
Thank you. Trevor?
Okay, I think in terms of, I think the regulation in the UK is working. It's competitive. We've got lots of people building, and we're carrying on with that build. I think, it's absolutely, as we look across the technology evolution, we've got to just keep challenging ourselves on that sustainability question. It's not just about, the bits per watt. It's actually how do we drive down the amount of energy we run these networks, and especially when we get into higher and higher speeds, we can't afford to run a network at full tilt all the time, just in case twice a year it has a peak. So I think we've got a mindset shift about how do we optimize our networks for lowest energy as well as latency and performance. And just to echo on that last bit, I think how do we harden our networks over the coming years to ensure that they provide the level of security and robustness we need to, in line with our various bits of national legislation, is going to be one of the big
coming
things
our way
we all
for
face
everybody.
into.
Yes. And
Well,
finally to Jose.
Some strong strategic planning, development of flexible and scalable architectures, network architectures, rational investment underpinned by the best equipment suppliers, and the best construction and installation processes, not just for the network, but for the customer as well. But at the end of the day, all in all, what's important is what we offer to our final customer, the customer experience. Yeah.
Very good. Those that pay the rent, as we say.
Yes.
So, last words to the audience. Any final questions? No? Well, thank you very much for your attention and your participation, and thank you very much to the panel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.